Welcome to yet another episode of Kubi Tuesday. There have been a few episodes in which I showed how to create a little script and a config map and use the config map to control what a container is doing. And I just used a generic version of a Python image. But now I'd like to create some customized versions of a Python runtime and then still inject in Python scripts through the config map. So let's take a look at that process. So I'm just going to define the name that I want to use for the little app component, the little app here. And this is going to be job runner, again, same as a couple of previous episodes. But I'm going to go and create in the Amazon Elastic Container Registry, the ECR, I'm going to create a repository by that name. So AWS ECR, create hyphen repository, give the name of the repository. Cool. Now I'm going to go and look that up, and I'm going to snag one property. Now, that is a property that's listed in the output of that create repository output there. However, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and then take that existing repository and just grab the name here from there. So I just did this AWS ECR describe repositories, picked that one job runner repository by name, and then ripped out repositories sub0 repository URI, and then output that as text, threw it into a variable $repo right here. All right. Then I'm going to go and just do a little bit of string manipulation here with a couple of values and take that, let me just do one line at a time, and snag the registry value. So the registry is going to be just the part of that without the slash job runner from the repository. And then I also might have a different environment that I'm running this in, so I want to just grab out of that resource right there, grab the region that was in. For me, it's the Oregon region, US West 2. I just let that be the default when I created that repository. So those, again, just a little bit of string manipulation. The next thing I'm going to do is use the region and the registry. Take those two values and do a get login password from this Amazon Elastic Container Registry service and say, okay, now I'm going to do a Docker login with the username just AWS, all capitals, and take the password piped in from the get login password command and log into the registry. So you're not logging into a repo, you're logging into the registry that you have. So just going to run that, and hopefully login succeeded. Isn't that amazing? So now what we want to do is build a version of container image. So I'm just going to go over here with a Docker file, and here just the same image that I'd used earlier in some other experience using just a config map and say run this in Kubernetes. But here I just brought in Python 3.14-slim, and then I say, okay, set up to run a Python script, just script slash job script right at the bottom of that, hang on, Command J, bottom of that script editor panel. It's not that tall. Anyway, I can't reach that far. But JavaScript right there, just going to run that. So I did not copy in any other values or run any other like pip install kinds of ones in this particular version. I have two other flavors of this Docker file. So I also have a Docker file which will just go and say, do the same thing, but now this time import in Boto 3, and then a third version of this where I'll go and copy in requirements.txt from the development system here, and then do the pip install with the -r requirements.txt. That's it, just really no different. In fact, I think that requirements file just probably has, well, let's just double check. Yeah, just has Boto 3. Because other module I was using, like JSON and stuff like that's built into the base Python library. All right. So how do we use these? Let's take a look. So to build these three versions here, we could go and just pop on into the places that I have those respective Docker files, and and then just go. I'm just going to run the commands. So push D down into there, into that base version, and then do a Docker build, and then tag that with that job runner colon 1.0.0, and then pop back up here to this folder here. And then same kind of thing for the second one. I know this could have been scripted up with more variables or whatever. It's a loop, but that's okay. Just going down here into the job image hyphen Bodo, and then building that pip install, yada, 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 download. Okay, that's taking a few moments. And this is why you would run it in like AWS code build and like a pipeline, a whole CI/CD, DevOps, engineering stuff. Good. Okay. But in real life, you would do that. I'm just hacking it here just interactively as a demonstration of how not to do it, right? This is the like one-off kind of exception case. So then take that third one where I pulled the requirements instead of just explicitly doing pip install bodo 3, and just the indirect flavor. Not that it should be much different, but if you had a number of other packages, then you might have a different container image for that. So then just build that container image there. And just letting that finish cooking that. Get a little Bodo core, S3 transfer, stuff like that. And the warning there was just you don't run this as root, which of course I should be following. Here, I just wanted to go and then cook through all three of those. So here just doing a Docker tag and Docker push, because they didn't tag originally in the build the special ECR repo location for each of these images. I just let it build locally with just the job runner colon 1.0.0, 1.0.1, 1.0.2. So just taking those semantic version numbers and then building that, tagging that up into the repo version of that. So taking the local, tagging toward the repo, and then doing a push. So it'll go up into the repo. And then getting a digest, again, just snagging here a little query string, that image digest right there for each of those, and just throw them into a little list. And so I'm just going to run all that down here at the bottom, and just go through, boom, boom, boom. We're going to take the first one, the 1.0.0 there, and it's taking the local image that I built, and then push it up into the ECR repo. Let's take a few more moments here. 80 meg, sounds about right for that one. And then got the digest from that. Now the next one, version 1.0.1, that's the one where I inputted Bodo 3. So slightly different version of the container image there. And that custom image now is going to be pushed up. Good, got a digest for that. And then the third one where same thing, just really Bodo 3 added into the base container image. But this one just had used the pip install -r requirements.txt, and then the Bodo 3 was what was listed over there, and then that's it. So I just built 3 container images, now just pushed those up into the ECR, and saved away their digests. So I do have kind of the list of the 3 digests, the SHA hashes for those. So that's it. That's kind of the building process. So let's do one more thing. Okay, so in this case, you can go and create a job and take the repo and semantic version of that third one, the version 1.0.2 in this case, I think it'll be, and just, whoops, sorry, almost ran the same thing again there. So let me just not do that. Echo digest, sorry, I copied the wrong thing. All right, there we go. This time, now, just go create a job definition. So I saved that as job runner custom semver there. And so that one just can just cat that right there. So just a little definition of what that is doing here, the bottom there, and just defining a job using that particular container image, job runner-job is the name of the job itself, and then the name of the pod, and then the container within there. So it kind of uses the name in that way. And then going to go and do that a slightly different way here. So now take the digest's semver after an @ sign. So the digest value has a colon, is SHA-256 colon, and then the little hexadecimal hash value, and just snagging that to use as an image name. So just go and cook another version of that up. And we could do a diff, right, of those two, and just say diff of the job runner custom, and then the semver or the SHA hash version of that. They're both YAML files, right? So it's really just that image line is the only difference up there. So we could also check in a prior episode, what had we done to go and take the baseline YAML definition we get for a Kubernetes manifest to run a job, and then what do we do to mount in a config map with the script and maybe a prompt or other files associated with that. They're not in the container image. We want to just inject in, so we can use a generic container image for like 5 or 500 or 5,000, any number of different container runtimes that you want to run, with that mounted in as a volume from the config map, rather than always making a new container image, new container image, new container image for every little script change, right? So just a technique. So I'd shown that technique in prior episodes of kubetuesday, and the difference that I would get by looking at the base job runner definition would be that it has the volume defined at the pod level, and then at the container level within the pod would actually treat that as a volume mount. So bringing from the config map all the scripts, all the other prompt text files and other files, and then just mount that. So how would we inject that into these newly synthesized jobs that we created here with the scripting, with creating a new job? Those don't have any customizations. Oh wait, what was that word I just used? Well, instead of patching an existing object in a cluster, you could build up a custom declarative YAML script by modifying that with kubectl customize. So here I could take just a generic name that I want to use, although I have these two versions, one with just the semantic version form of the image name, image tag, and then the SHA hash as the image tag. Those two actual versions. For both of those, I might want to go and do the same kind of customization for. So just take some generic name, job runner-job, that I could temporarily use, go through both of those two versions of the script we just created, and then run a customized script volume with the generic name. Just copy that in to a little folder. Run customize with a customized script volume. And let me show you what that script looks like. So if we actually just do an ls down of the customize script volume folder here, I have a copy of the job runner-job there only because I've already run this earlier. So now I want to go and patch a volume. So let me show you that one. So go take a look at the patch volume there. Just cat that out down here. And so there we just have at the bottom there, the batch v1, kind is job, metadata, job runner-job, spec, template spec. So the job spec contains a template. The template contains the pod spec for the pod to run within each instance of the job. And then the volumes right there. So that's what I want to add in and inoculate into the generic job definition that we just created. And within the container called job runner-job, within the pod, within the job, then we want to add the volume mount of that script config map. All right. So we want to take that, and the other file that's down in here in this folder is the customized script. Now, I'm not sure I've given you examples of that in prior kubetuesday episodes, but here's the basics of it. Say, take a resource, which is a job runner-job.yaml. That's the generic script name that I want to hack and edit here. And then the patches are just that, again, the config map as a volume in the pod, and then the mount of that into the script, the /script folder within the volume mount in the container. Okay? That's it. And just go and use that as a target against the job. All right. So the way in which we do that inoculation using those two files right there in that customized folder is to go and to keep the path simplified, I copied in the generic script. We're going to do that for each of the semantic version image path and the one with the SHA hash flavor of it. So we have both of those. And one at a time, we're going to copy one of those in, run kubectl customize with that, that folder that has those two pieces, the little patch path and then the little what to edit, what to patch in the customization file. And then I'm just going to take that and save it away as the job runner custom semver.yaml, take that and send the modified version with the config volume mapping mounted in there, and then put -mapped.yaml instead of just the .yaml in the end. That's it. So just a quick little innocent looking little for loop right here. Whoops, not going to describe that next part for you in this episode, and just wait till next week. And so just created two more flavors of this little job YAML template there. So to take a look at what is different in there, let's just look at what kind of job runner custom, and then the two mapped files. We have one for the semantic version flavor, one for the SHA hash flavor. So what we can do is we can just say, well, what got changed? Job runner custom, and then semantic version, and then just that file and that file with the -mapped part in the name. Just compare those. So we just added in these two pieces. So the customized script worked, and we have those. So that's it for this episode of kubetuesday. In the next episode, please tune in when we go and actually apply those and create the custom container image use of creating pod in a job, which uses then the mounted volume, some scripts, and instead of just doing a hello world scenario, just a little foreshadowing here, we're going to do a little job script in using Amazon Bedrock. All right? Hopefully you enjoyed this episode of kubetuesday. Take care.